Hello, everyone that is joining us this evening. This is Dr. B from Steps to the Future. Welcome you to College and Career Conversations with Dr. B. This evening, I have some phenomenal women in the audience for you to get to know, and I can't wait for you to meet them and learn about them and just hear about the community that we've been able to create as members of the Independent Educational Consultants Association. But before I begin, I need to do a little commercial break just so you can understand. So please, if you have the opportunity, if you're interested in getting monthly college and career news, please subscribe to Steps, my newsletter. There is the URL there, and that will definitely be in the show notes for you if you're looking for that later on. And not only can you watch this video on Facebook again, but you can watch it on my YouTube channel. Here is the URL to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So please take a few minutes to do that. And if you're interested in getting in touch with me, here is my email, drb@stepstothefuture.com. So I really hope that you sit back, enjoy, take part in the conversation. Remember, if you're out there in the audience, we want you to take part in the conversation, and we will be back in 30 seconds. So, hey, everyone, we are back here. Let me just take this banner down. And we have another person joining us. I see another person in the wings, so I'm going to add you, Deandra, but I don't see your photo up there, but that's okay. We'll put you up anyway.
I'm coming.
Thank you. So, folks, this group of women, they've given me life in this past pandemic time. We have had the opportunity to create a community that has been virtual the whole time until this past May. So I would just like to have folks introduce themselves, and I'll call on you to introduce yourself. And I'm going to start with how you appear on the screen to me. So, Janae, I am going to start with you.
Thank you, Belinda, for having all of us here tonight. I am Janae McCullough-Boyd. My company is More Than Athletics. We are a little over a year old, and we do college counseling, and our focus is student athletes. I'm located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but because of the virtual world, I work with students all over. Start with students from 8th grade all the way to senior year and help them transition to college.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to Antoinette.
Good evening. I'm Antoinette Batiste, and my company is Educational Pathways with Antoinette Batiste. I'm based in San Jose, California. This is year number 13 for me in my practice. I work with high school students to college, so 9th through 12th grade. And I work with students all over the United States, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Belinda.
You are so welcome. We're going to move on now to April. Oops, we can't hear you, April.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I'm April. My company's Paris Educational Solutions, and like Janae, I also love to work with student athletes. I start with 8th graders all the way through their senior year, transition to college, walk them through all of the recruiting. I am located outside Seattle, Washington, and I also work with students all over the country via Zoom.
Okay, thank you so much, April. We're going to move on now to Judy.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Judy Young, and my company is College Excellence, and I do college admissions and also MBA admissions. And I work with students similarly from for high school from 8th through 12th, and young professionals going back to top MBA programs. And I work with students locally here in Houston, Texas, where I live, but also nationally and actually internationally. I work with some Indian clients as well. So thank you so much for having us, Belinda.
Thank you for joining us. And we're going to move on to Tiandra. Okay. Oh, we can't hear you.
See me, but now you can't hear me. Now you
I
can.
know.
Great. So I am Theodra Washington. I am with the Metropolitan Educational Consulting Group, which is a consulting group that I started back in 2007. I work placing students pre-K through 12th grade into high school, elementary, middle, high school, all the way through from in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. I also administer the SSAT Flex test, if it's going to still be around. We have no idea. And it is good to see everybody this evening, and it was great seeing everybody in Philly. So thanks, Belinda, for doing this evening.
You are welcome. So let's get everybody back on camera. Okay. So one of the reasons that we thought this would be a good idea is, first of all, IECA had its first in-person conference since November 2019, this past May in Philadelphia. And during the time of COVID, we created, actually, Antoinette and I created the Black IECs Affinity Group. So let me tell you a little bit about the affinity groups in IECA. One of the things the organization does is try to help its members create safe spaces, community spaces, in order to continue doing their work. Right now, when I counted up earlier today, there are probably about 25 affinity groups in IECA. So there is a group for everyone. And as I said, we are the Black IECs Affinity Group. So for most of us, this conference was the first time that we met each other in person, which was pretty cool. So well, of course, I knew Antoinette. I've known Antoinette since 2012. I've met Judy before, but that was it. Everybody else I had never met in person. Did I meet you in person, Theodra? I have? Okay. I don't even remember anymore. That's the crazy thing. I don't even remember anymore who I met. It's just like they're all new to me. But we had again, it was good being able to be with each other and to be at that first conference. So tonight I just want to talk a little bit about, or just have us discuss as a group, just what it means about, finding community within an organization like IECA, and just having the opportunity to network and to be in person at the first conference since 2019. So anyone like to chat or give their opinion on it? Like, this is folks, out there, very free flowing. This is not scripted. It's a conversation. If you're out there listening to us, please, join the conversation, put your comments in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. As you heard through the introduction, we all do similar work. We just may do it in different locations, or we may focus on a particular group. But this is the beauty of what we do. We all do similar work, but we all collaborate with one another. We reach out to one another when we are looking for additional information. So it's so important, I think, for people to understand that this is an industry, this is a profession that has become more and more collaborative as time goes on. And it's not like we're not in competition with one another. We're all pretty phenomenal. So I just want folks to know who we are, and also understand that this is part of the work that we do. And that if you're looking for an independent educational consultant, you got some pretty cool people to choose from. And we just had a new person join, so I'm going to have her come on and introduce herself. So Sydney, you're going to be up. You're going to just tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Hi, my name is Sydney Montgomery. I am an independent educational consultant as well. I specialize in working with first generation and minority college and law school applicants. I am based in Maryland, but we see students all over the country and internationally. And my company is really focused on bridging the equity gap in education through the power of writing.
Okay, thank you so much. Oops. So we're all on, we're just getting started. So we're just talking about, coming together as a community, meeting some of us for the first time at the conference. So who'd like to kick us off?
I'll go.
Okay.
Being kind of an old head here. In a word, I could say that the conference gave me life by having this community. I remember, Belinda, this is something that Belinda and I have been working on, wanted to get off the ground for several years. But I think the impetus to really make it happen, our last conference was in Atlanta and in November 2019. And it was by far the largest number of Black IECs, Black attendees, whether they were college reps or presenters, IECs. There was the most melanin I had seen at any of our events. And Belinda and I said, okay, we're going to make it happen. And so fast forward to the conference a couple of weeks ago, it was the idea of having a couple of tables with Black IECs at breakfast and, just having that community there at the conference, meeting folks that I presented with and had, referred clients to and all of that. And it's just like, but to be together, it just was it was a whole different feel. And it was very, very positive. And I'm just excited about the journey that we've taken, the resource that we've been, not only for the students and families that we serve, but really for each other. One of the things that I always say about this line of work is find your people. That's kind of a theme that Belinda and I have had since we attended the Summer Training Institute in 2012 is find your people, because you do need to have those safe spaces where you can ask those questions. And no matter how many years you've been doing this work, there's still, you cannot know everything. So you need to know where you can go, where you're going to be supported and not ridiculed, and those kinds of things. And so it was really, really wonderful to see, Janae, my sorority sister, in April, and the Sydney Montgomery, just to be in that space. And it just gave me life. So.
Great. Anyone else? What else? What else did it mean to some of you?
So I'll go next. And let me just say that when I'm not in the DMV, I'm actually in Orlando, Florida. So this evening I am in Orlando, and it's like in the 90s. And our heat went out, our AC went out, go figure. So it is hot right now. I couldn't decide if it was going to be better to stay inside or to go outside, but I'm here either way. It was really, really good to see everybody. Belinda, I think I met you and Antoinette at the conference in Atlanta, because I think it was like some of the school tours we were doing is when I connected with you ladies for the first time.
Okay.
Is that correct, Antoinette? I think that may have been on one of the school tours that we connected. And this past conference that we had in Philly, I did have a colleague with me, Rona Frederick, and some of you may remember her. So it was her first time, coming to hang out. And when she started seeing all of the women of color, she was so excited. And she was like, wow, I've never seen these people. Where have they been? So it was a great introduction for her into one of IECA's first conferences. And the other ladies, I've seen you on some of the Zoom calls. I have not been as active with the Black Affinity Group this year because I've been swamped with other professional and personal family matters. But it was so nice to take a breather and to show up in person in Philly and just connect with everybody in person. And it was really a motivator. It gave me a sense of really energy and just re-energizing to come back, to get busy again doing what I do. And most of you all do college, and I don't do college, but it was still great connecting. And I always feel like this is a family that I have regardless to what I do, and a group that I can always tap into. And it wasn't probably until about the last morning or so that we connected with everybody at breakfast. So it was nice to do that and to get in the group picture together. And it's like a place to come back to it's a place to hang out in general with you ladies, but it's always a place also to come back to when I feel like, okay, I need a little something. And it's nice to come back to the group to get that little something that I need to keep me going forward.
That's great. All right. Who else is going to be on the hot seat?
I'll go.
Okay.
So, what I felt at the conference actually was a lot of pride. I mean, it was so exciting to be at that table with just some phenomenal women and just show IECA's group, wow, we are here and, we're to be respected and we're just an incredible group. That for me, of course, it was wonderful connecting, but it was really a proud moment to see just the incredible talent that we had together there at the conference. That was exciting.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. Okay.
And I'll jump in. Being a newer IEC and transitioning from a completely different career that I'm an accountant by trade prior to this. Just to be able, as Antoinette said, to find your people. And to do that, one, it builds your confidence. But two, like she said, we lean on each other. Therefore, it helps us become better educational consultants, and it helps us serve our families in a more effective and productive way. And it was just, the synergy, those couple of mornings that we were able to meet each other and greet each other in person, although I feel like I know each one of you already before, but to, get hugs and just, share some personal time was absolutely amazing. And I have been blessed here the last, I think, 6 or 7 months now to co-chair the Black Affinity Group. And because Belinda and Antoinette were so kind to pass along the reins after they have laid a great foundation. And just to lead the group now of some amazing, as we said, women, but we also had some amazing gentlemen find us as well. And so the group is just continuing to grow, and like I said, we're feeding off of each other, and I couldn't be more proud.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. It does. I remember, God, Antoinette and I, from the very beginning, kept talking about we need to do this. And every year, every conference, all right, next conference, we're going to do it. Next conference, we're going to do it. But there was something about that conference in Atlanta. I think it was just the amount of melanin in the room for the first time. It spurred us. And I mean, Antoinette was going around, she had her pad and she had people, she was taking names and numbers. She wasn't letting anyone get away. And then that was, our responsibility then to because all we needed was 10 names and information and we could start the affinity group. But you go back and you start working and doing what you have to do, and you say, yeah, I'll get to it the next time. And before you know it, like 2 years have passed and you haven't gotten to it. But we got to it this time. So I'm happy about that. I'm really thrilled about that. So someone else, April or Sydney?
I'll jump in. I think for me, that's all about mentorship and having a place where you get encouraged, you get pushed, you get somebody who helps you grow. And interestingly, in this group anyway, mentorship isn't always the person with more experience and the person who's newer. I'm like Janae, I've been open for a little bit over a year in my business, and yet Janae and I both have this knowledge base that some of the other IECs don't have because of our experience with athletics and the time we're spending specializing in that. So we get to help, but we also get helped. And I love that about this group. Everything is really about helping each other be better and helping each other's students do better. So I told a client recently, you're not just hiring me, you're hiring my whole network. Yes. Because I can call anybody at any time. And that's not true in a lot of industries. It's not true in most industries. So I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, that is so true, April, because I think about, I've told this story before, and bear with me, folks out there, if you heard it before. But when I first started here, and I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, for those that don't know, I remember asking one of the faculty members from the STI, should I reach out to another person who was doing the same work here in Fayetteville, but we didn't know each other. And she said, yes, of course, start collaborating, work together. So I reached out to this person. We made an appointment to go out and have lunch together. We went and had lunch. We had a 2-hour lunch. It was great. We were, um, just talking about the different work that we do and how we wanted to do things a particular way. And I remember at the end of the lunch, I said, oh, I said, I'm so glad we had this chance to meet. I, can't wait for us to meet again. And this person said to me, oh, we're not going to meet again. I'm like, we're not going to meet again. Why not? She said, well, you're competition. I said, what? She said, you're competition. We're not going to meet like this again. And we did not meet. I have not laid eyes on that person since that day. And I just knew that there was no way I was going to continue in this organization with that mindset. So I love what you just said, April, about we've all got expertise and we all help each other. So Sydney.
Hi, I'll go. Well, this was my first IECA conference, and also the first time meeting like anyone in person. It was a little bit of a weird experience for me, I'm not gonna lie, because more people knew me than I knew them. It was interesting. And I don't know, I didn't expect that. I just kind of expected to show up and hang out with the people that I thought I knew. And there were a lot of other people, which was great. But I would say that when I got a chance to be around other Black IECs, it felt like home. And I felt like I could just relax versus, people were like, oh my God, you're Cindy Montgomery. Oh my God, you're Cindy Montgomery. It's like, hi. I'm just really trying to talk to my friend though, but hi. And I think what's really cool is that it was a place where I could be myself. I didn't have to, like when I was around other Black IECs, I wasn't like the Princeton Harvard girl. I wasn't like the girl that writes the things on the talk list or the business practices girl or whatever it is that people know me for. I could just be Sydney and I could ask my own questions or I really think it's very valuable and beautiful that I have all of these, like, I'm very open and honest about it. I'm 28. I think it's great to have, more seasoned Black women who care about me and men, but really like the women that care about me and that I feel like it's a safe place. It's a place where they want to nurture me and help me grow as a person, as well as be a professional colleague. April was talking about that mentorship. We might not be in the same stage of business, but for me, those are connections that are really valuable because you don't get anywhere without learning from people who have come before you, even if it's just they've been around on the earth longer than you, they know things. And so for me, that was really valuable. And I really look forward to having more of those moments.
Yeah, Sydney's the baby of the group.
I was going to say, at least you didn't say to have all these moms, I was expecting you to drop a big sister in there, but some of us have children significantly older than
Older
you.
than Sydney, yes. So Sydney has a lot of
older than Sydney.
She has a lot of aunties, so we'll just put it that way. But I was laughing, Sydney, when you were talking about your comfortability factor when the more people knew you than you knew them. So for folks out there that are joining in, Sydney is a little she's a budding rock star. Well, I shouldn't say budding, she's a rock star. So everybody knows Sydney. If you're in IECA, you know who Sydney is. So she's just gonna have to get used to that because that's who she is.
Yeah,
and she just brings that to the table all the times. I sometimes Antoinette and I said Sydney's ears sometimes should be burning because Antoinette and I always think, God, if we just had like 1/10 of the energy that she has. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to work that hard. I don't know if I want that much energy. I'll let her keep all that. That's for the young. That is for the young, definitely. So as we move through this, what do you hope to get continue getting, or to see maybe at future conferences, or ways that this affinity group can contribute to IECA? Where do you see us playing a role in the membership?
I want more networking. And very selfishly, this is so not politically correct to say, but I would really like a Black people party. Because one of my favorite moments at the conference was when we wobbled. And I really didn't think it was gonna happen. And I didn't want to wobble because I was like, there's gonna be 5 people on dance floor. It's gonna be us, and that's awkward. And it wasn't. People joined in, and we did some line dances, and it was cool. But what I felt like it was really missing was just like a good old kickback, like a good old, like a block party vibe with just like, it's just us and, some spiked sweet tea or something, right? And it's just like, we're just having a moment. That would have been like at some of the nights, the last night, I don't know, somewhere. I feel like that would have been great.
Okay.
That's doable.
I
think we can hang a little bit.
I love that.
Really cool. You can all hang.
But no, I think, and I think that's a natural next step for the next conference, because I think this time it was like, we've seen each other on little squares for the better part of 2.5 years, and it's like, okay, so what's it gonna be like in person, right? Kind of feeling the vibe and stuff. But yeah, we can work for San Diego. Hopefully y'all will come west. So.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that because the call for proposals are out. So those of us that are thinking about going, we should probably think about, what kind of a proposal can we put in for the conference, and continue contributing that way. So that's something that we can definitely think about.
And I think that a couple of areas that come to mind, I guess, because they're kind of top of mind for me, and that is, I think with obviously continuing to highlight HBCUs more, leveraging our connections there. And I know the Sylvia Jackman, one of our colleagues, has been doing great work there. It's not always an easy path, but I think that that's something that that we have an opportunity to do. I know I'm working on that because many people don't know that there is an HBCU in California. And so I'm going to be working to try to get a representative from there, at the conference, kind of to participate. So that's one of the things. Also speakers. So like the ACE speakers and stuff, like I've already forwarded a few names, but if you know of folks who are dynamic, who need to be in front of the whole of our colleagues through like the ACE talks or the college showcases and things, sending that information in to the staff, and maybe with a little bio, and if there's like a link to like a YouTube or something where they have presented that or a snippet or something, I know that that's helpful too. And so those are some things that I think are really helpful, that kind of no-brainers, because we know that we don't want boring speakers, right?
That is so true. That is so true. And I just think, I don't know, I just think we're off to such a good start and a strong start. And I just think during the time of COVID, we bonded in a way that I think I didn't expect that to happen the way it did, because we're all, like I said, we're all on these like little squares and what have you. But I remember well, first of all, I had not seen Antoinette since January 2020. And where were we, in Arizona at the professional retreat. And 2020 was to be our year to see each other 4 times. And we saw each other once. And I'm so glad that we went to that professional retreat, because otherwise it would have been November 2019. So I was definitely thrilled to see, because it was kind of weird, Antoinette, being in the same space with you, because it was just because I hadn't seen you in so long. And it just felt, just like kind of like Sydney said, it was not off-putting, but it was like, wow, all these people, like I'm seeing them in person now. And I remember I think it might have been Janae. I think it was Janae. Did I tell you that? Oh, you're shorter than I thought you were. Janae looks tall on the screen.
Yes, it was me.
And I said, I can't believe I said that. But it was, and like even Sydney, when Sydney had said that one time in a meeting, she said, I've never met you in person. I'm like, yeah, we've met in person. She goes, no. And I'm like, oh, yes, we have. And she goes, no, we haven't. And it just, and that's Sydney's presence. Sydney just has this powerful presence that you just say, oh yeah, I've been around her. She's been around a long time. And then you find, oh, never met you. Okay. So it was nice just being in company, having breakfast together, being in sessions together, meeting up, at different meals or different times. It just did make a difference in this particular conference. So I'm definitely glad we had the opportunity to do that.
I think one of the things I would like to see continue to progress, and you all know that I'm the day school person, so I'm always talking about the PK through 12th, is I would like to see more presentations that are around the PK through 12 population. There are lots of them. Well, there are a few of them, but I really would like to see more of a presence of us presenting. And I keep saying this over and over again, but yet I'm still not submitting a proposal, right? So at some point, I'm going to stop saying that, and I'm actually going to find a few of my colleagues to present to. I do appreciate the way that we had, sort of like the college moment, and then the PK through 12 moment in terms of the fairs. So that was nice. And I think most of you may know that I'm a part of the schools committee. So a part of what I did on the schools committee over the past few years is I did bring in more people of color. It was like, that was the only way that I felt like I could sustain being on there. So I did bring a lot more of us in. And so part of what I've been doing is really trying to build that community. Although this next year I won't be on anymore. I'm off. So I did have the office reach out to me about starting a day school affinity group. So I have been working behind the scenes to help do that, even though we've had two colleagues that kind of started it, but I guess they did it unofficially. So someone from Mark's office reached out to say, hey, Theodra, could you and this other consultant officially start this group for us? And I think in starting that group, I do hope to bring in more of us so that we can keep a strong presence in that community as well. And it was nice to see those numbers increase, but I would love to see more of that within the conferences and the presentations. So I'm going to start pulling on the arms of a few of my colleagues who are doing PK through 12, saying, listen, I've been saying this every year. I wish we'd present more. I wish we'd present something. So I think I have to start with myself. So if Rona's listening, I'm going to be pulling on her to say, okay, we got to submit a proposal. We have to get out there and do something.
Okay, that sounds good. And just for folks that are listening in that aren't familiar with IECA, we're a membership organization where people can specialize in different areas. So the majority of our members actually specialize in college consulting, and some with some specialties, like Sydney with law school, Janae and April with athletics, and Judy with also doing MBA work. So we have people who are in the college realm. We have people that work with students in the therapeutic realm, learning disabilities. We have boarding schools. We have, what else do we have? I'm missing something. Grad school. We have people that specialize in helping students with applications for med school, all of the professions. So one of the nice things about our organization is that we do have those specialties. So I know, for example, if I'm working with a student and I may need some extra information or assistance if it's something therapeutic. I know that there are colleagues within the association that I can reach out um, to either help me with the student or, to do a one-on-one with me to talk me through something that I need to know about. So that's definitely one of the benefits of belonging to this organization, is because we do have all of those specialties within the organization. And one of the things we've been working on that are actually our co-chairs, Janae and Lisa, have been working on is creating a document, a database, so that all of us can know what each other's specialties are. So for example, if a student comes to me and they're heavily into wanting to be recruited D1 and I'm not feeling that comfortable about working with that student, or if I am going to work with that student, but I know I need some extra information, I'm going to reach out to Janae or April, because that's kind of their specialty in doing that. Definitely, if anybody comes to me for law school, I'm sending them to Sydney. I'm not even trying that. I know how to stay in my lane, and that is not my lane. So again, and then it's also, if we just need to try an idea out on somebody, we have a group of people that we know we're comfortable with, we feel safe with. Within this group, there's no such thing as a silly question. We can put the question out there and we can get feedback on it from our colleagues. So I really love that, and I really do appreciate this community, because it's made my time in IECA even stronger and better. It's for the longest time it felt like Antoinette said, there was a handful of us. But we're visible now and we're out there. And the other thing that I really want to stress within this group is the idea of leadership. So now we're in the group. As Theodra mentioned, she was with the grad school committee. Sydney is heavily involved in different committees. And I just want everybody, Antoinette just came off the nominating committee, and a few other things. So, it's just finding those opportunities to be part of the leadership, whatever that may look like, to get into that pipeline. And I know that's another thing that we're really concerned about doing, is just helping people find out what those pathways are and helping them get there, so that, our leadership also is diverse.
I will say that I'm still on the grad school committee, but coming off of being chair of the grad school committee, it was very eye-opening how much work needs to be done in promoting and supporting graduate consultants, especially graduate consultants of color. But the true dearth of law school consultants at the conference, I mean, there were less than 5, basically. It was really shocking to me, to see it. I knew it was a small number, but then to see it at round tables, and was like, oh. And that's hard for me, because law school consulting, I mean, everything is important, right? But when I think about the people that are going to become the next lawyers who are going to make legislation, when I think about where this country is right now, how badly we need different people in power in some areas, different laws, different safeguards for just so many different basic civil rights. It's important, right? It's really important, and it's important that we are thinking about who is helping to raise up the next generation of attorneys and lawmakers in this country. And so for me, that's something I'm going to try to work on between now and the next conference. There needs to be more than 5. We need to have an actual presence at the conference, and we need to be thinking about this carefully, right? It's not just, it's where people go who like to read and write, but no, these are the future lawmakers in our country.
And Sydney, I have to thank you for, pulling me into, the grad school committee, and it really opened my eyes. I mean, I think I've told a few of you, I had a Black admissions officer from Wharton ready to come present, and it was like, wow, I didn't even get people signing up. I mean, I think just like your experience, I found, wow, there's only a handful of people even doing MBA admissions. So like you, I feel that is an area that needs to be expanded so we can bring more opportunities into the conference, for sure.
But I'm wondering, is there an opportunity, and I could be way off base, top of mind, on a Monday afternoon. But is there a way maybe to do a presentation or to talk about, kind of the challenges? I mean, like grad school, kind of across the board. So whether it's MBA or law school, coming from consultants of color. And I don't know what I'm thinking, but just so if they're just a handful of folks that are doing law school consulting, and maybe there's only a handful of MBA, but as consultants of color in these fields, and that there are tons of students, of color who are applying to these schools. So is there maybe some way to kind of elevate it and do something that kind of cuts across the professions as a just what some of those commonalities are, or even the two of you and somebody else, maybe somebody in med school, I mean, just as a thought. And, so.
Yeah, we are, there's going to be hopefully a presentation on more generally grad school consulting and thinking about it. But I think we have a pretty concerted effort to also shift how people both within and outside of the profession look at grad school consulting and really look at them as individual silos. There are, of course, on a general level, there are some things that affect applicants of color across the spectrum, but on a deeper level or right under the surface, med school applications, MBA applications, law school, they're all so intrinsically different. It's like the difference between day school and college, right? Like that's all theatre. I don't know nothing about that. Kids have to write profiles. I know nothing about that. But I think that I don't know. It's a peculiar problem, right? It's like there aren't that many consultants of any race, and then there are, of course, are like one or two consultants of color within those subspecialties. And you're right, we're not helping really the students who need to be helped. And all of those fields, right? We need more culturally competent doctors. Because the studies have shown that's the difference between life and death for a lot of Black patients, right? We need more competent and culturally competent lawyers. We need more culturally competent business people because, when we think about only 2% of Fortune 500 companies are run by women at all, and then even smaller when you look at Black women or Black. So we are really underrepresented in these top fields. So I would like to find a way that we can collaborate and work together while also continuing to deeply support our differences within the specialties.
But Sydney, you had made a point that really stuck with me, and that is, there are lots of people out there doing MBA consulting of all races and creeds. So maybe the issue is inviting some people in. There just aren't a lot of us of any race in IECA, and that was shocking to me. So I mean, I do like your idea of potentially opening it up. Maybe it's free for IECA members, but you have a paying public who would love to hear from Wharton or one of the other top schools, for example. So that might be a different way to approach it, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of some of the topics that we want to get out there, there are the individual kind of conference presentations, the session presentations. But then I also think, the showcase is a place where that's really important, those showcases. And then also the ACE speakers. So maybe, so for some topics that we want to make sure that are really elevated, that the majority of people are going to be at a session to hear, that's like the ACE speakers, that's the showcases. And so thinking strategically, where do we get the most bang for, kind of for our buck to get the messages across? Because when people have an option to kind of self-select on their sessions, that can be very siloed. But if we're taking some of these themes that are, that are important, that we feel like our entire membership need to hear, because that's, I guess, what I was kind of thinking, kind of some of the nuances for students of color who are applying to professional schools, and maybe additional resources or additional considerations and those kinds of things. So maybe that is more than a conference session where people are going to self-select whether they attend or not. Just a thought, so.
That's true.
Antoinette, I think you're so right. And I think we like to, put things in little buckets and tuck them away, as opposed to just having it across the board. So, just listening to Sydney talk about who are going to be our future leaders, who's going to be this, how do we elevate the college equity index that I know, Sydney, you did a lot of work on, and talk about what does it mean to be a Black student on a particular campus, because not everybody is going to go get the same education and have the same experience.
Amen.
Right. And how do we help? It's one thing for us because we're aware of it. We've had our own experiences. So we're going to talk to our students about that and make sure they're understanding it. But a lot of other IECs it's not really going to resonate with them how important that means. What does it mean if you choose to go to Wabash in the middle of rural Indiana? Like, what does it feel like when you leave campus? And are you ready for that? Do you understand? Or even, if you're going to go to Cornell, Cornell's in the middle of nowhere.
Not picking on Cornell, but oh yeah.
Right. So, do the kids, or do they want to have that HBCU experience? And are other, people really elevating that opportunity and what that feels like for the kids? Because it's the education, it's the professional connections, and it's the growth. But it starts, I think, Sydney, it's starting back in Theodora's world, right? Where we're getting the kids prepared to be able to go to college wherever they want. And then we're helping them go there and do that. And then they have to thrive and understand internships and understand research and understand what they need to do to build, so that when they come to you or to Judy, when they come to you guys, you have something to work with. Because otherwise they come and they didn't build. I get a lot of kids that come as a senior and someone told them not to take Algebra 2 Trig their sophomore year. And now they want, different things. And I'm kind of, I wish I had met you 3 years ago, because I could have told you that was a bad call.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I definitely think you ladies are on to something. I will say that there were topics in those main sessions, and we're still talking about them a couple weeks later in our, news feeds, on Facebook groups and things like that. And so any way we can get, culturally focused information for the masses in front of them, I think is going to be effective. And so, Antoinette, to your point, I think it is important in those sessions where we have the ACE speakers or the showcases where we have our mass numbers of attendees, we're able to get that point across.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw something out that may be particular to the MBA world. I'm not sure. But two things. When I was bringing this person from Wharton, it's funny, I got a lot of questions. Well, is this person talking about Wharton or DEI? And I'm like, wow, okay, this is not, just because he's Black does not mean this is a complete DEI conversation. But in any event, what's been interesting is in the last year or two, many schools are asking a very specific, how will you contribute in a diverse community? And there are people who are blindsided, like they have had no experience with diversity. And it's been interesting to watch. So it isn't as simple as that has nothing to do with me, that diversity thing. Suddenly, yes, it has everything to do with you. Just because you personally are not a minority doesn't mean that you should not contribute in some way to making it an inclusive community. So that's been interesting to observe. And that may be, certainly from the MBA realm, one way to bring that conversation in. In fact, my conversation with the admissions person from Wharton is, look, honestly, we get plenty of Indians, Asians who want to come here. It's finding those minority candidates who are talented and that we want in this pool. That's actually who we are having trouble finding. So it's interesting. I don't know what my point is, except to say there are pathways in, and it is certainly very top of mind and front and center now, certainly in the MBA realm. I don't know about the other grad school realms.
So, it would be interesting to imagine an ACE speaker focusing on a population, just sort of the conversation even about starting earlier.
Absolutely.
Because it's accessing these students when they start high school.
Absolutely. Or before that even.
Yes, because it has to start sooner than later in order for them to even have that idea, that brain, that mindset to go in those particular directions.
Right.
And then I know often when we have speakers, they come in on the opposite end. So it'd be interesting to see them come in a little and start focusing on conversations that are a little earlier. You're right, doing those times in which I get, to do that placement and have those conversations with parents. And it would be interesting even to see the parents that I have try and connect with you all a little sooner.
Mm,
So wouldn't that be nice to think about, hey, how can I connect with you all sooner than
right.
later?
That's true.
And because I don't do college placement, I certainly have families coming back to the practice looking for someone to do college. So imagine what that network could be like if we were able to connect, on the early side of things so that they can start getting that direction from you all as college placement folks sooner than later.
That is so true. So we just had another member join us, and I want to give Cynthia an opportunity to introduce herself. So Cynthia, just let us know your name, where you are, and anything you'd like to tell us about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Cynthia Flowers. I'm in the Atlanta metro area. I am college. I'm college, and let's see, I think that's about all I can think of. I've been doing this, I guess, consistently for about 8 years, but 14 years in total.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we're just talking about our experiences as an Black IEC Affinity Group, our experience at our first conference, and just really just trying to brainstorm some ideas. So one of the things we've mentioned a few times, and I just want to let folks out there that may be listening to this now or on the replay. So you heard us talk about ACE speakers. So our ACE speakers are our version of TED Talks. So we have speakers that come in, and I'm getting ready to draw a blank here on what ACE stands for. I know it's adolescent. I can't. Let's see. Is it communication, consulting? Oh, Mark, if you're watching this, please don't get mad. I just can't remember. I'm just drawing a blank. And I know education. I can't remember what C is. Okay, so next time I go off screen, I'll have to look that up. But we have a few years ago, the conference committee at IECA decided instead of having like one main speaker for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour, whatever, that we would divide that up and do kind of mini TED Talks. So that's actually what our ACE speakers are. So hopefully that will, education, adolescence, consulting, education. Thank you, Sydney. So that's what we do. So when you hear us saying ACE speakers, that's what we're talking about.
Something that comes to mind, and I'm trying to think who made the point, but perhaps one of the things we could think about doing is partnering with groups like MLT. And now I'm drawing a blank, but organizations that do support students so that we could integrate with them, right? What is MLT? Management Leaders for Tomorrow. So they are, helping to build those students from a very early age. Yes, I guess it was you, Theodora. So they are helping those students from an early age, and maybe we can be the partner organization as a group of IECs. That may be a way to, to sort of integrate. That would be my thought, because I completely agree. I would love to see students earlier just to get their heads in the right places about what they need to be doing to build a strong profile for themselves.
Yeah, one of the things I always suggest to my students as they think about what their career interests may be, because a lot of times they're exploring and they're just becoming aware of what's available to them, is to look at those professional associations that are aligned with whatever they're deciding to do. And I'm thinking of one young man in particular who just graduated from the University of Michigan. But I remember when in his senior year, I talked to him about joining the National Society of Black Engineers, and there was a local chapter in his community, and he joined it as a high school student, but then kept it up also as a college student. And I remember following him on LinkedIn and saw that he had this fantastic internship. And I said, "How did you get that internship?" And he said, "Well, that National Society of Black Engineers that you made me join?" He said, I joined the college chapter, and they were having a conference close to his college, and he went to the conference, and had conversations with different vendors that were there, and ended up having this fantastic internship with Raytheon, the end of his first year in college. And, right now, I mean, just did some fantastic stuff, but that organization really mentored him, took him under their wing, helped him learn certain things. And, right now, and I actually was messaging with him this morning or yesterday, and he's headed out to, I think, Redmond, Washington, to work with Microsoft.
Ah, very nice. Very nice.
So taking care of business. So again, letting our kids even know that those professional associations exist,
Mhm.
and that sometimes they have junior chapters,
Yes.
Mhm.
and
Agreed.
to find out more about those.
Mhm. I love that.
And back to the concept around the conference sessions, it's okay to pull other people in, and one of the things I know that's always appreciated is whenever we have students, whenever we can have the voice of students participating, either if they're not on, well, now that we're going back in person, but I mean, if they're available to be, like on a panel or involved in some way, the student voices I know are often very popular, which was great during COVID and virtual, but could be, a bit challenging now. But this might be an opportunity if we know, if any, to kind of circulate if there are kids that may fit whatever you're kind of looking for, that might be at San Diego State or University of San Diego or UC San Diego. Those might be opportunities too that, say if one of us were going to present and we were presenting on, I don't know, say if we're presenting something on first gen, okay, if we've got a student that, fits kind of that profile that's at maybe one of those schools, we could, again, start with this group, kind of put out the call for that. Does anybody have a student? And maybe, that kind of thing could be arranged. So that is another opportunity as well. So Theodra, you're not feeling like you have to do it all, or you have to find, 3 or 4 IECs to, to go in on a proposal. And so that's something to think about as well.
And the proposals, I think, are due June 30th.
Yeah.
So they're due pretty soon.
And I think probably I think we're scheduled to have a meeting on Thursday. So it might be one of our agenda items for Thursday to see who's thinking about or who has submitted proposals. So we can, just kind of, because there are certain themes that we were trying to make sure that we were including, like in most of the conferences, something around HBCUs. Typically, we did the HBCUs, we did Divine Nine, which was actually a real fun one. So again, dispelling, it's, we have an opportunity to educate our peers in areas that we're very familiar with that they may not. So for them, the goal is to help them understand, like, and Angela, that wasn't Angela, I'm sorry, it was Amy. And we had a person from the community. And so 3 different Greek organizations. But the point was, when Black students talk about fraternities and sororities, they're not solo cups, right? They're talking about service, they're talking about community, they're talking about different things. And so an opportunity to kind of educate our colleagues about that, so that when they're having those conversations with students, they're mindful of that, right? And so I think, as we continue to think of topics in that way, it's not always about it's how can we help educate. And I know Belinda is, hashtag lifelong learner, always sharing information about just different things and encouraging people to educate themselves. And so that is, I think, something that we will continue to do and get better at, and we will get more diverse in how we approach that with intentionality as well.
Right. That is so true. Well, folks, we are nearing the top of the hour. This has been a fantastic conversation. It's wonderful to see the faces. For those that are watching this in person or who may watch it on the replay, this is a part of a series of interviews that come under the hashtag for me of Representation Matters, because it's so important that Black and Brown young folks see Black and Brown professionals on a regular basis. So weekly, or twice a month, 3 times a month, depending. I always try to bring folks in. And I think it was really important that we see that, for Black and Brown families to see that, there's an independent educational consultant for you.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
interested.
Mhm.
We come in all flavors.
Yes.
And because, we're all located, around across the United States and internationally,
Mhm.
as we all said, Zoom helps us to have folks anywhere.
Yes.
So we're not hindered by location anymore. But again, if that's something that you're looking for your child, you have a phenomenal group right here to choose from. You got your pick. There are
Mhm.
more of us, but you got your pick here.
Mhm.
And if you want to, you go back and look at the replay and you can see everyone's website. So you can reach out to them if you choose to do so. We're also on the IECA website. So you can go on the website. If the person is a professional, they will come up in that section. If they're an associate member, there's another section where they will come up. But again, you have this video, which will be live, which will be hosted on my Facebook page and also on the YouTube channel. So you can always go back and look at that contact information and reach out to someone. So we actually have a member of our group that made a comment. Thank you, Lisa. So Lisa is one of the co-chairs of our Black IEC Affinity Group. She was not able to join us at the conference, but we thank you so much, Lisa, for listening to us and for giving us your comment and your thoughts. We would definitely appreciate that. Any last comments?
I just want to say thank you so much, Belinda. This was absolutely wonderful. I mean, thank you so much for putting this together. This was great.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, now that we're all in this strong community, we've got to keep it going because we're like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes, indeed.
There you go.
And
And,
that's what
and
we
if
need
and
to
I just
do.
want to put in a plug too, if you know of IECs that are thinking about Summer Training Institute, then I'd be happy to talk to them. Both Amy and I will be on faculty again this year, which I know for me has been really, really important, because I think it's important for IECs coming into this
Mhm.
field and into this organization to see faces.
Mhm.
That's kind of that start of mentorship. And what we have found is those IECs, the Black IECs who've attended have come in, they've been engaged, they've been very active. And so it's important. Representation definitely matters. But if you know of any IECs that are thinking about it, because I think everybody here has probably gone through STI, Summer Training Institute, but I'd be more than happy to speak with anyone who's kind of on the fence about it. And it is going to be virtual again this year, which I think is great from an access standpoint. That makes it definitely more affordable and available for people. So
Yes, so true. Anyone else?
Well, I was late, so I plan to rewatch everything because the energy is so good that I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So thank you, Belinda.
Thank you, Cynthia, for joining. We definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And I would be remiss. So I have this thing. I always have to recommend a book. So that's just part of the deal. If you're going to listen to me, you're going to find out about a book. Now, this isn't a new book, but it's a book that we're actually getting ready to do in our DEI book discussion. So for those who haven't read Cast, you need to run to your library, run to your local bookstore, get it on Audible, whatever you need to do. So Cast, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson, no relation. If it was, I'd have her at our doing a panel discussion for us. But again, it's a great book to read. I'm rereading again, looking at some of the discussion questions to refresh my memory about it because I read it a while ago. So again, thank you everyone who's watching this live. Thank you everyone who's going to watch this on replay. We really appreciate you being here and listening to us. This is about us creating our community and finding space within the Independent Educational Consultants Association. So again, thank you everyone. Ladies, stay on. And folks, next week, next Monday, I will, my guest will be Mr. Richard Martin. Richard and I taught together in East Providence, Rhode Island. He is rare. He is a Black male teacher, which is rare these days, but he is retiring after 40 years.
Wow.
And he's one of those teachers that he's a teacher's teacher. So I just want to have Richard on next week, just for people to celebrate him and honor him, and just hear his thoughts on the teaching profession, because education is important. And it's important that students have people that look like them in front of the classroom. So thank you everyone for joining us, folks. Some folks out there, I will see you next Monday. Ladies, hang on a minute, and everyone take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.